1 pound of potatoes, and I don't have enough regular potatoes. I'm using the Yukon Gold, so I ended up cutting up half of a sweet potato. It's half this size. So that's part of our prep work. The next step I'm going to do is cut up the rest of this onion, as the recipe calls for 1 large onion, but I'm not going to use the full recipe amount because I don't even have a pound of potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and chop up this onion really quick. Alright, so all this onion is now chopped up. We're going to be placing it inside of this pan here. We're going to place about a tablespoon of olive oil into the pan here. We're going to add in the onions. So now we're also going to add about a tablespoon of butter. It's about that much. I'm just kind of eyeing it. And now we're going to turn this on to about a medium-high heat. We're going to cook this onion until it's almost translucent. So I let the onions cook for about 4 to 5 minutes over the medium-high heat, and I kept stirring it so that they would not burn and the butter won't burn. So at this point we're going to turn the heat down to about a medium-low heat. Now we're going to add in our potatoes. Just like that. Go ahead and mix it up with your onions. Now we're going to add in about a cupful of cooked pumpkin. And it's been cold, and it's a little bit more than just a cup. Make sure to add in a little bit of the juice and water mixture. Go ahead and mix that in. And be sure to cover it. And we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes, stirring about every 2 minutes or so it doesn't burn on the bottom. So now the pumpkin and the potatoes are starting to cook with this heat. They're kind of steaming themselves with the lid on. I took it off to show you, of course. But you want to make sure that they don't boil and burn, because that would be awful. Burnt pumpkin soup does not sound very appetizing. You want to continue cooking this down until your potatoes are almost soft, to the point where you would make mashed potatoes or something. So they're not quite there yet. They're still a little rough. So I'm going to go ahead and let this sit for another 10 minutes or so. I'm going to continue stirring every 2 to 3 minutes to make sure it doesn't burn. And we'll go from there. Alright, at this point the potatoes are now soft, where I can split them in half with my spoon. You add a pint of vegetable stock to this, but I don't have any vegetable stock. I didn't think to grab any when I was at the store. I don't even have vegetable bouillon cubes, so I am going to do the next best thing. I'm going to add 2 cups of water with about 4 tablespoons of vinegar. Go ahead and let this sit for a minute, mix it up well. So I'm going to add a little bit of nutmeg to this. Ooh, it's a little more than a pinch. I'm going to sprinkle a little teeny bit of thyme. I'm going to add some black pepper, a little bit of freshly ground sea salt. I'm going to mix this together well. And to this I'm going to add a tad bit of Tabasco. This isn't in the recipe, it's my own additive. I'm just going to give it a little extra flavor. Now we're going to bring this to a boil. Alright, we have a very nice boil here. So nice, in fact it's pouring over the edge a little. So we're now going to turn this down onto low again. I'm going to let a lot of the water boil out here. And vinegar as well. Now I have some leftover pureed acorn squash that I made the other night, and instead of letting this go to waste, I'm just going to add it into the pumpkin soup for a little extra flavor and texture. This is unsweet, so I'm mixing that in now. Alright, for this next step, after your pumpkin and your potatoes have cooled down quite a bit, you're going to go ahead and add them in to be blended up into a food processor or some sort of blender, and go ahead and puree this until it's a nice consistency, that there are no clumps or potato chunks left in there. Alright, so it's now blended, and we're going to pour it back into the nice saucepan. So now we have a very nice consistency, kind of like mashed potatoes. Now we're going to add in some fresh squeezed lemon juice. Give it a good squeeze and mix into it. I love the smell of fresh squeezed lemons, especially in the summer. It's one of my favorite smells. We're going to add in some milk and mix that in well so it's not so thick. Okay, so the soup is done as far as what the recipe calls for, but I tasted it and I felt like it was missing something to me. So I'm going to go ahead and add in some chopped yellow pepper to the top, and it's still raw, which will give it an extra little crunch. So I'm going to mix that in. I'm also going to add in some corn. I'm using canned corn, so that part isn't completely fresh, but it is cold. I had it refrigerated. So it's kind of like a pumpkin chowder. You can add in more Tabasco if you choose, and more pepper and salt, and you're ready to go. If you want to, you can garnish with some freshly made pumpkin seeds, which will be the next upcoming tutorial if you want to stay tuned for that. I'm going to leave these out. We're going to put these on our soup after we dish up. So woohoo! I'm so excited. This is so yummy. I wish you could taste it through the camera. Seriously, I wish you could. I topped off my soup with a little bit of Greek yogurt and roasted pumpkin seeds. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. Stay tuned for the roasted pumpkin seed tutorial, and if you have any requests, please comment below. Have a delicious day. I'll see you next time.